Hey folks, Jessica here. We're in Genshin Impact. You saw this one coming. I'm gonna roll for Yoimiya. How many copies am I gonna roll for of her? For now, one. I'll probably get her weapon two for future use. Well, we'll see how that goes. Um, but I'll be honest. I like her as a character. Played her in the story, thought she was alright. Looked at some tier list rankings to see how people were valuing her initially, which I think is valuable for like just getting an initial read on like how strong a character is. She seems to be S tier, not double S tier. That fits with how I felt about her from the brief amount of time I played her. But to be honest, the main thing about her is she is adjacent to the Raiden Shogun banner, which should be the next banner. Ball, May, from Honkai Third Impact. Coming real soon. Uh, and I think she suffers by being adjacent to her, because I think a lot of people are going to skip this banner and save up for May, which is totally fine. That's the smart thing to do, honestly, if you don't have the option of rolling on both. Because May, in addition to being awesome and one of my favorite characters, May is one of my favorite characters. She's a giant edgy lesbian. How can I not love her? Um, but in addition to being adjacent to that, like in addition to that, she's an Archon, and it's clear that they want the Archons to be meta. Like Venti and Zhongli are the two other Archons right now. Very meta characters. And I think the thing that's interesting is Zhongli was bad when he came out. And they buffed him significantly to make him double S tier and very good. So it's clear from how that went down that they're committed to making the Archons very good. And this isn't about May, because we'll talk about May when she comes out. But I think the May banner's definitely the one you want to roll on if you can't roll on both, because chances are May will be good, and if she wasn't, likely she'd be buffed just like Zhongli. So yeah, Yoimiya suffers by comparison. That said, I will get her, play of her, and then if I really like her, or if like data rolls in, because I'm open to that happening, where people are like, "Huh, actually, now that like we figured out this perfect way to use her, she's actually double S tier," and then maybe I'll roll for more constellations. But for now, we're just gonna go for the one. Also, I'm going to preface all of this by saying, yes, I'm talking a lot about the May banner, the Ball banner, the Rain Shogun banner, whatever you want to call her. I'm going to be having vocal cord surgery in 2 weeks, which is when that banner starts. So will I C6 her? Definitely. Will I make a video about it? Definitely. Will that video go up anytime close to when the banner goes up? No, because I actually won't be able to talk for 2 weeks after the banner. That's after the banner. After the surgery, because it's vocal cord surgery. I don't want to damage the you don't want to you don't want your vocal cord sutures to open up. Let's just leave it there. I know some people are like, ugh. And to be fair, that's a fine reaction. So I'm gonna probably record footage of that and then do a voiceover commentary when I can talk again, which will be 2 weeks after that. So I wouldn't expect that video until like a month from now or like 2 weeks after that banner, assuming it's the next banner. But yeah, let's roll in Yoimiya. All right, let's go. I think this is a fresh 10. No, we have, last time we pulled, I believe we got our last, well, we got two Ayakas, got C7 Ayakas, so this is fresh. I should check if my audio is balanced. Give me a second. I'm gonna. Un momento, por favor. Okay, audio balance. I turned up the game audio a little bit. Let's keep on rolling. Yeah, like, I like her character design. It's just, there's a 20. Uh, no, it doesn't seem like she does much. We'll talk more about what she actually does when we get to, once we get her. Uh, in addition to that, like, she's another Pyro DPS or Pyro support, and I feel like we've got a lot of Pyro DPS and Pyro support. So she's kind of in a crowded area. Caillou, I do want one copy of at least, because I believe Skyu makes it so you don't scare crystal flies, and getting crystal flies actually got a pain in the ass. So, that's a thing. If I sound unexcited about this banner, I think I'm speaking for a lot of people. If you're a Yoimiya fan, then, like, no offense. She's cute. She's really cute. I like her character design, but yeah, I just don't think she's benefiting from where she's positioned right now, in addition to not being, like a Ganyu. Like, if you want to talk about, like, bow characters, Ganyu is double S tier, super strong. She's not that, at least not at Lance. She might very well turn out to be good after people look into her. What was this, 40? But initial impressions just don't seem to be too excited. But I also roll for her because I want her. I want at least one copy. Future-proof ourselves, if nothing else. This banner is like Diona's on this banner, and Diona's worth getting too. Like if you just want to roll a little bit on this banner, it won't be the worst thing. But honestly, I would recommend if you are saving, if you're free to play especially, I would just save for the next banner. What's this, 50? Yep. Come on, we need a Sayu. Give me a Sayu. Would be very weird if we ended up getting a Yoimiya before a Sayu. What happened? I guess we have to pull a few more Sayu. Get it to 60, and we're creeping up on that guarantee. There's Sayu! Okay, so now we just need a Yoimiya, and then we're done. Let me need the weapon, because the weapon I want to get for future-proofing, because I suspect it might also be pretty good. I have to see how it plays, actually. It's essentially Missplitter. Missplitter Reforged, but in a bow form, if I remember what it does correctly. Was this 70? I lost count. Okay, we'll have to get some more points. We've got a lot of start letters, so that should be a big deal. Another Sayu, let's go. I haven't looked much in Sayu's kit besides the Crystal Fly thing. Okay, let's get some more pulls. We are back. Well, there you go. Let's see it. This could not be her, by the way. That's entirely possible as well. This could be someone else. I guess I should have mentioned that, because this is the first 5-star, so it might be someone else. It's Jean. So I guess we're pulling some more. Alright, that's fine. Like I said, I want at least one copy. What Constellation is Jean now? I don't use Jean as much these days. She's still fine. Oh, it's the one that reduces animal resistance. That's not bad. Yeah, that's not bad. I don't hate getting that. Okay. Give me a second. Back into it. We also have to roll for a weapon, so let's see how this goes. Could use an early Yoimiya. I mean, we're gonna get one. I need to take a gander at that weapon. Like, I suspect it would... So, Missplitter Reforged is best in slot for a lot of characters. It's legitimately a really good weapon. I suspect it in bow form is similarly going to be best in slot for a lot of characters, but I need to check. I think we're at C4. C3 or C4 Sayu. Also, hello, kitty. Stiggy, you want to come up? You want to come up, baby? Hello. Stiggy, are you joining us? Are you joining us for the roll? Do you like gacha? Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Stiggy, come on, don't sit on my keyboard, kitty. Don't sit on my keyboard, kitty. Come on. Hello, I love you. I love this kitty. Love this kitty. Alright. Oh. Is this 20? Stiggy, sit down. Sit down. Oh boy. Everyone's gotchas and new things are rolling into each other. Logmount Puzzles and Dragons is, I think, C4 the other, like, yesterday, and it's like, oh, the meta shifted on that game, too. Oh, there's these stupid flower main characters, these flower characters you gotta get now. I'm like, really? And the Fate Grand Order is gonna have a new banner tonight, which will, like, might have a potentially a very powerful character, brand new character. It's Arknight's anniversary. I mentioned that before. Everything is happening right now in gacha games. That's kind of making me a little crazy. Like, guys, how many banners do I would need to roll on? Oh, right, and Honkai Third Impact. Hersher of Flame Scion. Kiana. Kiana is getting a new Hersher form because she gets 2. Yeah. That's a thing I gotta roll on too. I get someone's probably like, Jessica, you don't need to roll on these games. Do you need to whale on everything? Yes. It's just I can't I hate missing characters on banners, so I always try and roll on them when they come out. Do I have to? No. I don't even... Do I have to? No. Should I? No. Am I going to? Probably. Uh, at least on Honkai, I don't feel as compelled to be like C6 on a character, because on Honkai, triple S'ing a character is fucking crazy expensive. There we go. There's the early 5-star. I think, what is that, 50? I'm in yakking. So there's our Yoimiya. Now we just need a weapon, and then bingo bango. We're done, and we can talk about what she actually does. Welcome to the team. Let's go. There she is. Alright. Let's roll for a weapon. Alright, well, I mean, here... Who do we want this for? Tartaglia, right? Because for Tartaglia... Okay, increased attack, fine. Right now I'm using Skyward Harp on Tartaglia. By comparison, let's take a look. Let's see. Well, okay, yes, I guess you probably use on Yoimiya, but let's say I don't. Let's say I don't. I would replace Skyward Harp on Tartaglia. So right now, all I'm really getting from Tartaglia on this is the crit rate and crit damage. So like the crit rate and crit damage are great on Tartaglia. Like the AOE thing, like who cares, right? It's a nice bonus, but it's not that big a deal. So this does seem like it'd be better than that. Because I lose crit rate, but I do... This thing has innate crit damage. But, like, I would gain 20% attack, and then for Tartaglia, let's see, you would stack one normal attack deals damage, so his melee mode attacks, I believe, count as normals. So it would gain from that. Casting Elemental Skill would give him a stack. Though only for 10 seconds. So you run him as main DPS, which I do, since it's minus C6. I would only gain it for the first 10 seconds, so that might become a little bit of a thing. And then energy less than 100%, that's easy. So, you know, this seems like it'd be good for him. I could give Venti, Tartaglia, Skyward Harp, give someone official, I guess. Maybe Yoimiya, Venti String. I don't know if Stringless is any good for Yoimiya. I need to look at what Yoimiya actually does. I think I could just get this for Yoimiya. Long story short, I'm gonna roll for it. We'll roll for it. We'll roll for it. We'll roll for it. We'll roll for it. We're rolling for it. I need to get some gems, and then I will roll for it. Alright, let's roll for it. I don't like rolling... let me make sure, double check. Okay, it is set for Thundering Bolts. I don't like rolling for weapons, because in theory, you... I don't like rolling for what? Is this it? Is this it? Guys, you'll love to see it. Well, alright, we're done. Guys! Guys. Let's go. Let's go! Hey folks, what am I doing? Hey folks, it's morning, Jessica. We're still talking Yoimiya. So this is slight update. Well, for you this will be one linear continuous stream, but we're at a different time because I originally recorded a bunch of like very much first impressions looks at like Yoimiya's kit, playing her a bit, and I have shifted a little bit in my thinking about her as I have played her more. So I just wanted to start fresh and give you more of an update, kind of the morning after, where we phrase it. But yeah, let's just look at her kit, and I'll hopefully be able to be a lot more concise here. So some details on how I've got her set up. She's not fully maxed out for me. Like, it's gonna take a little bit of time to do that just because I still need to get the Ascension mats, and honestly, I can't be fucked to jump in a bunch of other people's realms to get the mats right now. But mine is 5760. She's using 2-piece Crimson Flame, 2-piece Noblesse Oblige. This is how I would run her for as a burst support. If you're doing her as a main DPS, you could run something like what is it? Like Sheminawa's Reminiscence. This seems like a good set for her in that regard. Her best install weapon is probably going to be something like Thundering Pulse, honestly. But she does have an attack share, so the attack from this is going to be better than, say, something like a Skyward Harp, which doesn't have an attack element to it. You do want some attack to be able to share it. So yeah, that's generally where she is. Oh, and her talents are 414 at the moment. Again, if I make any comments about the numbers, it's going to be with the caveat that I don't have fully uncapped yet, but I have looked at how her numbers scale. So I can give you a reasonable estimate of how she will perform once she's fully maxed out. But yeah, let's talk about what she does. Alright, her normal attack is Firework Flare Up. It is a 5-shot string with her bow. Her charge attack, aim shot for a bow user, has 2 levels. The first level, she builds pyro damage. She infuses her attack with pyro damage. Second level, which takes about 2 seconds, she would start getting kindling arrows. It's pretty quick. Up to 3. When you shoot with kindling arrows, they will home in on a target and fly to them and deal pyro damage. So I'm gonna be a little unfair here. But actually, this is not unfair because I feel like every bow user that comes out is gonna get compared to Ganyu in terms of their aim shot. It's just gonna happen. So this is what Yoimiya's shot looks like. Go home in on target. Apparently, apparently that table is a hilichurl in disguise. I'm onto you. That table is sus. But yes, that's what that does. Ganyu's, on the other hand, stage 2, shoot it. Basically, when you hit the thing, orb flies up, AoE's the area. So that's comparison of the two of them. When I say when I compare to Ganyu, I'm talking about the damage because Ganyu is notorious, and this is why it's not a super fair comparison. Ganyu's notorious for doing an incredible amount of damage, on her aim shot. Like I wasn't playing Ganyu much, because I didn't really look into her, and then I started leveling her, and then like I got her maxed out, and I just rocked up to a character and I aim shot them for 100k. It's like, what is happening? Why is she doing so much damage? So Yoimiya's numbers, which is what we're looking at here, don't really compare that favorably. So let's look at them. Fully charged aim shot, 155% damage, okay. 21% damage per kindling arrow. My gun used level 6 on her normal attack, so let me look up what 6 is for Yoimiya to be fair. Like I said, I'm going to actually compare the numbers fairly. So fully charged aim shot level 6 is 173.6% damage. That's fine. Kindling arrows are 22.96 damage. Let's round up, say that 3 kindling arrows is 69% damage. Nice. So how's that stack up to Ganyu? Ganyu's fully charged shot is 179% damage. This is compared to, what did I say? 173.6, so that does a little bit more. And then the Frostflake arrow bloom damage, the AoE, is 305% damage. So more than double the little kindling arrows. Plus, it's a big AoE. Like Yuri there is dead. Like that little Tavern Keeper there's dead, right? Like it hits a huge area. And all this is not to say that Yoimiya's bad so much as Ganyu's fucking OP, but like they're both bow users and people can compare them, so that's why I want to make that comparison. And I get it. It's a rough time being compared to Ganyu because Ganyu is so strong. But honestly, we're at the times in Genshin where there's enough characters out, there's enough options that you really do have to start looking at characters comparatively. And if you're a bow user, if you're a bow user right now, you're compared to Ganyu. So that's why it's worthwhile to talk about that. So her elemental skill is Niwaba Fire Dance. Yoimiya waves a sparkler and causes a ring of saltpeter to surround her. I'm not going to read the flavor text for this verbatim because that would take forever. Basically, what this does is it gives her pyro infusion. It's going to turn her normal attack arrows into blazing arrows. Their damage will be increased and converted to pyro damage. There's this weird caveat: during this time, normal attack firework flare up would not generate kindling arrows that's charge level 2. And then this effect will deactivate when Yoimiya leaves the field. Basically, you don't want to use this and then use aim shots. You probably don't even just want to use her aim shots at all. She's not well suited to that. If you want to aim shot, you use Ganyu. So I can show you what this looks like. Basically, her normal shots are like that. They're bow shots. If you use Niwaba Fire Dance, they become fire arrows. Useful if you need a cause fire reaction. It is a bonus to her damage as well. Overall, not bad skill. It's got a pretty sizable cooldown. It's 10-second duration, 18-second cooldown. So it's on cooldown quite a lot, which further leads to you probably want to use Yoimiya as a rotational character on a quick swap team. Like you can have her jump in, do some burst damage, jump out. You probably don't want to keep her around just because her uptime on this is not great. All right, her elemental burst, and if I'm being honest, this is a bit of a frustration for me of her kit. So it's gonna when you hit her elemental burst, I'm not gonna read it verbatim, just so much stuff here. When you hit her elemental burst, she's gonna jump in the air and shoot at the ground and deal a big burst of pyro damage, and then mark one of the opponents that are hit by that with Aurous Blaze. So that burst of pyro damage is actually pretty low, I gotta say. Let's get level 4, it's 159%, and let's look at 6 to be fair. At 6, it would be 178.08%. So that initial thing is mostly apply Aurous Blaze. It's not going to do that much damage, if I'm being honest. Aurous Blaze makes it so attacks... Here, I'll read this part verbatim because it's important. All normal charge, plunging attacks, elemental skills, and elemental burst by any party member other than Yoimiya that hit an opponent marked by Aurous Blaze will trigger an explosion, dealing AoE pyro damage. When the opponent affected by Aurous Blaze is defeated before its duration expires, the effect will pass on to another opponent. It will jump and will inherit the remaining duration. This part's important. One Aurous Blaze explosion can be triggered every 2 seconds. And then if she dies, then the effects will deactivate. It's weird that I specify that, but I would have thought that'd be obvious, but yes. So basically, this thing lasts 10 seconds. You can trigger one explosion every 2 seconds. But she can't trigger them herself. That's a big one. You've got to swap to another team member. Again, you really have to swap off her to get the bonus. So you've got to swap off her. So likely, given the time it takes to cast this and then swap, you're going to probably get 4 explosions out of this like in a perfect scenario. 4 should be pretty simple to do. This is doing 153% damage per explosion. Let me just look at skill level 6 for fairness. Skill level 6 is going to be 170.8. So this elemental burst is weird because it requires a lot of setup, and you'll see when I demo it. What you don't really want to do is use this without a character on your team like a Venti that can just AoE everything. Because trying to trigger that, like, if you use this AoE, like, hit everything over AoE, one of them gets the Aurous Blaze, and you're not going to try and hit that character manually in order to trigger this, because it's not reliable. Like, you don't know which character is going to get it. You're going to take some time trying to find the character that has it, and then, like, if you kill that character, it's going to jump, and you have to figure out where it went. That's not how you use it. The way you use this is you do something that does a large pulsing AoE by another character. Like Venti is the probably the best one to use with this. And then you you combine their AoE with this thing, and this thing kind of enhances their AoE. That's how you use this. It's more damage for that. Okay, passives. Tricks of the Troublemaker. So during the Wab Fire Dance, shots from Yoimiya's normal attack will increase her pyro damage bonus by 2% on hit. This effect lasts 3 seconds and can maximum 10 stacks, so she can gain up to 20% extra pyro damage through her passive while Nawaba Fire Dance is up. That's fine. Just do keep in mind Nawaba Fire Dance duration is only 10 seconds versus an 18-second cooldown, so you're not going to have this up all the time. Which is again why you kind of want to play her as a character that swaps in and out, because you want to give Nawaba Fire Dance time to cool down. Summer Night's Dawn. Using Ryukin Saxfrash causes nearby party members, not including Yoimiya, to gain 10% attack increase for 15 seconds. Additionally, further attack bonus will be added based on number of tricks of the Troublemaker stacks Yoimiya possesses when using Ryukin Saxfrash. Each stack increases this attack bonus by 1%. So basically, up to 20% boost to the rest of the team, not her, when she uses Ryukin Saxfrash. Really, you're not incentivized to keep her on the field when you trigger this, because this bonus doesn't apply to her, and she can't trigger the explosions here. You really want to basically jump in, Nawaba Fire Dance, shoot, 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 pew, 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 shoot, blow up things. And then when you build up enough tricks of the Troublemaker, you hit Ryokan Saxifrage, apply Orse Blaze and stuff, do a little bit of damage, swap her out, and then go to town with the rest of your team. That's how you use her. That's kind of a support DPS playstyle. It's how she's meant to be played. Last skill to talk about here is Blazing Match. When she crafts a decoration, ornament, or landscape type furnishings, she has a 100% chance to refund a portion of materials used. Great. You have to farm less wood. Farming wood's kind of pain in the ass. This is not a thing. I would shake a stick at this. That's a nice little bonus if you're working on your teapot. All right, let's start constellations. I'm gonna flip through this real fast. Agate Ryukin. This is her Constellation 1. The Orse Blaze created by Ryukin Saxifrage lasts an extra 4 seconds. That's automatically pretty good, because this thing, it only lasts 10 seconds. You're getting, at maximum, very unlikely, 5 explosions out of this. With C1, she gets 7 explosions. At maximum, more likely 6, but it's going to be a gain in the duration there. And also fills in some of the downtime potentially, because the duration will be 14 seconds with a 15-second cooldown. So, that's not bad. The second part of it's interesting. Additionally, when opponents affected by Orse Blaze are defeated within its duration, Yoimiya gains a 20% attack increase for 20 seconds. There's a couple parts about that are weird. So you're gonna use Ryukin Saxifrage, right? Then if something is defeated in that time, she will gain an attack bonus. So the ideal use case for that is you've thrown down Ryukin Saxifrage, you switch to Venti, throw a Venti ult, Venti's ult's ticking, and now, if you want, you can switch back to her because stuff's going to die, and then she'll get an attack bonus. You want to run her as a main DPS. Or the way I would prefer to do it is you use Yoimiya, put up Ryukin Saxifrage and Orse Blaze, switch to Venti, throw Venti's Windstrand Ode out, switch another character, do their thing, switch another character, do their thing, then switch back to her, and then by that time, like Ryukin Saxifrage and all that stuff's wearing off, stuff's probably died, and she'll have a little bit of a burst to start to cycle over again, where you use Nawaba Fire Dance, you start pew-pewing, and then you start building stacks, and then do it again. That seems like the ideal way to use her. Some people are gonna insist that the way you use her is like, start with her, Ryukin Saxifrage, switch to Venti ult, switch back to her, gain the attack bonus. Issue is that you're getting attack bonus from the Constellation, but you're missing out on the attack bonus that you're giving the team, which you're not really maximizing because you're only really boosting Venti's ult a bit. So that just does not seem ideal. Like, she really does not seem suited to being the main DPS of your team. But yeah, additionally, like, you don't really want her to be on the field while Orse Blaze is in effect because she can't trigger the explosion. So if you're not running a Venti or somebody that has a pulsing AoE that stays on the field to trigger the explosion, she won't be able to trigger the explosion. So you do really need someone that has a pulsing damage thing to trigger the explosion repeatedly if you want to run her main DPS. Let's bang through the rest of Constellations real fast. Procession Bonfire, C2. When Yoimiya does a pyro damage crit, she will gain 25% pyro damage for 6 seconds. Can trigger if Yoimiya is not the active character. This is presumably referring to Orse Blaze critting. This is pretty good because her innate stat she gets when she levels is crit rate, so she will crit quite often. Trickster's Flare, C3, just increases Nawaba Fire Dance's level. It's 3 and 5. I've said this many times. Always increases elemental skill and elemental burst level. They're always just kind of nice to have depending on how good those two things are. C4, Pyrotechnic Professional. This is worded really funny. When Yoimiya's own Orse Blaze triggers an explosion, Nawaba Fire Dance's cooldown is decreased by 1.2 seconds. Am I missing something? Is there another way to get Orse Blaze besides Yoimiya's ult? Because I don't think there is. In which case, what do you mean Yoimiya's own Orse Blaze? There's only going to be one Orse Blaze. So unless I'm missing something, let me know in the comments if I am. I'm really curious on that one. If I'm not missing anything, this just means whenever Orse Blaze triggers an explosion, whenever a thing explodes because it has that buff on them and something hits it that's not Yoimiya, it's going to cut the cooldown on Nawaba Fire Dance by 1.2 seconds. Remember that because of Agate Ryukin, Agate Ryukin makes it so you have 4 extra seconds on Orse Blaze. So in theory, you can trigger anywhere. You can trigger up to 7 explosions. 7's kind of unrealistic. You'll probably trigger 6 At at 6, you'd be cutting the cooldown by 7.2 seconds, which basically makes it so you have almost like a matching duration in cooldown for this skill. So that's pretty good potentially. Um, really, it's going to depend on the timing of how often you swap characters out, whether or not that actually matters that much. But potentially, it'll give her just better uptime on her skill. Okay, so I would say that if you're running her as main DPS, and I've said this about 12 times, I don't recommend you running her as main DPS, but if you were to, C4 is not bad. Cutting the cooldown in a while before dance is not bad because you want to have high uptime on that to DPS over. T5 is a Summer Festival's Eve, increases Ryukin sacrifices level by 3. Great. C6, Naganohara Meteor Swarm. During the Waba Fire Dance, Yoimiya's normal attacks have a 50% chance of firing an extra kindling arrow that deals 60% of the original's damage. This damage is considered normal attack damage. This is worded a little funny because it says an extra kindling arrow. I believe what this just means is you have 50% chance on a normal during Fire Dance to fire a kindling arrow. So in addition to your normal attack, that's what they mean by extra, when you're blazing arrow. So basically, when you're attacking there, you're just gonna like 50% of the time fire off an extra arrow does 60% extra damage. So that is gonna be helpful as well. Like it's gonna be a decent amount of extra damage from that. So that one's not bad. It is in the category of C6s that are gonna help the character do more of what they do. It's not gonna be like a game changer for her. It's not a bad one. It's fine. It's a good C6, but it's a tough sell to want to go this deep just for that. So we'll jump into Domain real quick so you can see how she actually plays. Again, don't focus too much on the numbers because she's not fully leveled or anything. This is just mostly giving you a sense of what her playstyle is like. So this setup's not ideal. I'll just say that straight up. Because you really want to bring someone like Venti. Sucrose would be fine too. Really, someone, probably Animo, that can control where the enemies are and also pulse damage on them repeatedly. Because that will trigger Aura's Blaze a lot more consistently than using, like, trying to single target it. But here, I'll give you a sense of what it plays like. So let's run this thing up. So you give her an infusion, and then she starts plinking at things and doing damage, and building stacks of the tricks of the trades of the tricks of the whatever her thingy is. I do not remember. Oh man, her elemental burst takes a little bit of time to build. But yes, so that's the kind of thing you do. And then once her elemental burst is ready, you hang on a second. You apply it, and then she cannot trigger this, so you've got to swap out somebody, and then figure out who's got the Aura's Blaze, which is that one, and start triggering it. And it will explode, and then it will pass to someone else, and then you've got to move over to them and start hitting it. And that's just not very efficient, because you've got to figure out who's got the stack, and then kind of chase them down, hit them. The much better way, which I'll just jump over to show you, is if you use someone like Venti, and you just use it as a way of enhancing the damage on Venti's already sizable damage. Like, Venti's already very damaging ult. Okay, so let me jump over that. So this team is going to probably have a lot better time of it because we've got a Venti here, and Venti really does pair well with her and, well, a fucking ton of characters. Venti's Venti, right? So the thing is, you really want a character who has some way of pulsing damage on group enemies over a long period of time, because Aura's Blaze has an internal cooldown restriction. It can only trigger every 2 seconds. So if the person only, like, does a big pulse of AoE damage to trigger it once, you need to be able to trigger it again and again. So Venti's ult is pretty well suited because it lasts a while. It also keeps everything clumped together, and that again further enhances the AoE. So like, look at Ryukin Sacrifice and Aura's Blaze as a way of enhancing the AoE potential of your team and like other elemental bursts rather than being a huge source of damage on its own. Sucrose also works fine if you got Sucrose and not Venti, but yeah. I could run Bennett here instead of Deluxe, but the issue is with this particular team, the way I've got it set up, if I ran Bennett, I really wouldn't have anybody that would function as main DPS, which would get awkward. So yeah, because you started like 20 times. I don't think Yoimiya is well suited to the main DPS role. Well, let us just do it. So we're gonna start with Mona, get everything wet, maybe drop Mona's little thing up, switch to Yoimiya, new wild fire dance, and then we build stacks, etc, etc, etc. And then do the elemental burst, whap, and then drop Venti's ult on, like so, and now you can see, like, her burst is causing an extra pulse of... You can see it, it's orange in there. Causing extra pulse of damage. It's not hitting for a lot, though. I've got to point out. That said, like, she's not leveled up, so, like, factor that in. But, like, it's not adding that much damage. The 2-second cooldown, I think, I find very aggressive. I don't know why it's so long. That internal cooldown. That really limits the amount of damage that's going to add. I think looking at the numbers, someone pointed this out. If you look at the full scope of the damage she would do over the ticks, it roughly equates, like, say, someone like Zhongli's ult. Like, if you take the initial burst damage plus, like, 4 or 5 ticks, that roughly equals the Zhongli ult in damage. But Zhongli just has to hit a button, and everything gets hit. You don't have to use another character. You don't have to do a setup or anything. Similarly, Zhongli also petrifies. Like, you know, Tartaglia just has to hit one button, does a shit ton of damage to everything. Doesn't have to do a lot of setup. Like, various other characters achieve the same amount of damage without a lot of setup. So, yeah, you know, you can't... If you use this kind of setup, you are maximizing her damage. That's how you maximize her damage, by using something like a Venti ult. She does really need that setup to benefit. So let's talk about conclusions. Yeah, some conclusions on Yoimiya. Like, she can work. You can make her work. But I think my issue with her is you have to work pretty hard to get a similar output to other characters who get there a lot easier. So what I mean by it is, if we look at something like Ryokan Saxfresh, and I'll be fair, I'll level this up to 6. At 6, I believe this does about 178% damage on the initial tick, 170 on the Aura Blaze explosions. Let's be super generous, and say you get the initial tick plus 4 ticks of Aura Blaze. So let's just do 5, so 170 times 5 to keep it simple. Quick napkin math here. Times 5, because someone pointed this out. They're like, oh yeah, her damage is pretty equivalent if you factor in the initial damage plus all the ticks. That's 850% damage, right? But that's gonna require you to keep all the enemies clustered through whatever means you have to do that. That's gonna require you to pulse damage on those enemies in order to trigger those explosions. It's gonna require someone that's not Yoimiya to be the one pulsing that damage. It's gonna require Venti or Sucrose. It's gonna require a character like that to get 850% damage. Let's compare that to someone else with AoE, Noble Phantasm? No, the AoE Elemental Burst. So it is Zhongli. Zhongli's Planet Befall. Planet Befall does 640% skill damage. So about 200 less, actually, than Yoimiya. But it hits a way larger area. Costs 40 energy instead of 60. He just has to hit one button to do it. Doesn't require any setup, any synergies, anything like that. And it petrifies for almost 4 seconds. Just for one button. Like, Zhongli's a double S tier character, so maybe that's not a fair comparison. But, like, you don't have to work nearly as hard to get the maximum benefit out of Zhongli's thing. And the additional amount of damage extra you gain from Yoimiya is kind of mitigated by the fact that Zhongli petrifies. And you gotta do a lot of work. Because, like, that's assuming the perfect setup. If you, like, time it a little bit and you don't get if you don't get 4 ticks of Aura's Blaze, you only get 3, you're going to reduce your damage. If an enemy isn't standing close by, isn't being held in for the entire duration of Venti's ult, you're not going to get full damage. So there's a benefit to doing everything at once without a lot of setup. Tartaglia, let's look at Tartaglia. I'm going to scale this down, to be fair. Having Obliteration. So, having Obliteration, let me pull up the number real quick, is when targeting his melee stance, if you hit his elemental burst, he does a giant slash, and it does a bunch of damage. One of the harder hitting elemental bursts in the game, actually. At skill rank 6, to be fair, that does 649.6% damage, so less, right? But also triggers Riptide Blast, which is at skill level 6 would be 168% damage. So basically, the same amount of damage. You add the initial hit from the slash plus Riptide Blast. You're it's about the same amount of damage. But Tartaglia just has to hit a button and it happens, right? It hits everything. It's not a lot of setup. So my issue with your Mia is like you gotta do a lot of work to set all this stuff up. I mean, here's another comparison, and again, not particularly fair, but I'm gonna make it. Kamiso Sumetsu on Ayaka does an absolute shit ton of damage. Look at my spotlight on her if you want to see what that does. But I'm bringing it up because this thing doesn't have a 2 second per tick limiter, right? It's just gonna tick a shit ton of times and do a lot of freaking damage over it and doesn't require a ton of setup. If you want to put in the setup and apply wet first and then freeze with this thing, then you're gonna absolutely demolish where you hit. But like it benefits from setup, but doesn't need it, and it doesn't have the weird limitations that Yoimiya has. And that's kind of my issue with Yoimiya. She's got some potential to do alright damage. Not great damage, but alright damage. But she's got all these fucking limiters on her that make her awkward to use. Okay, I'm gonna make a comparison that might not seem fair, but I think it's important to make because characters are good or not good by comparison. So bear with me. This is a point. Yoimiya's charge hack is not AoE. Those are individual ticks of damage. They will all track to an enemy. Ganyu's charge hack or aim shot is AoE. Hits everybody. Claps everybody. And that's not necessarily a very fair comparison to make, a lot of people think, because Ganyu's charge hack or aim shot is broken. It's OP. Like, Ganyu is one of the strongest characters in the game. Her aim shot is one of the strongest attacks in the game. And everyone's aim shot suffers by comparison. But I'm mentioning this to illustrate a point. And the point is, Yoimiya kind of suffers by comparison. She is an AoE-oriented offensive archer based on fireworks and explosions. But her aim shot doesn't do AoE damage? Why? That's weird, right? And I think the point I'm trying to make is she just really suffers by comparison. Everything she does, someone else does either better or easier, or in some cases both. So she's got some ability to support the team. She has an attack share. Well, so does Bennett. And Bennett's is a stronger attack share. Just get that out of the way. And it heals for a significant amount over a period of time. Like, a lot of people use Bennett as their primary healer. And it doesn't require any setup. Bennett just has to jump out, hit Q, hit Elemental Burst. He doesn't have to build up stacks of anything to get to the maximum attack share. He just needs to jump in, hit Q, and then he's out. She has some ability to do a lot of AoE damage. Well, that's true, she does, but it's convoluted how you get there. It requires a lot of setup. It requires that you have another character available that can do AoE damage as well to trigger those explosions. And then also requires some ability to keep the enemies clustered so they can stay in those explosions for a long period of time, because it's not all at once, it's several ticks over a long period of time. It requires that character that does AoE damage that triggers the explosion to be able to trigger the explosion repeatedly over a long period of time. They need to pulse damage. Basically, it needs Venti. It needs a Venti or a Venti-like in order to really maximize the damage there. And there's so many other characters that can do the AoE damage that don't require that setup. And the damage is actually decent. Like, some folks have pointed out, like, no, damage is good. Like, it's more than Zhongli's if you get all the ticks on everybody. Well, there's a few problems with that, because Zhongli's Elemental Burst doesn't require any setup. All he has to do is, again, jump out and hit Q, hit Elemental Burst, and then boom, Meteor flies out, hits everyone, hits a much larger area, hits them all at once, so there isn't as much of a requirement of gathering enemies and keeping them gathered. And don't forget, it petrifies everyone for almost 4 seconds. That's there as well. And then in addition to that, like, it also only costs 40 energy as the lower cooldown, so it's essentially spammable. And that's kind of where we're at with Yoimiya. And I can, like, make comparisons for every part of her kit. But what I'm getting at is, right now, we're at the point in Genshin's life where characters start really having to raise the bar release over release in terms of how strong they are to stay relevant. And I can see Yoimiya being a character that will struggle to stay relevant as the game further matures. I think if she were a launch roster character, if she were one of the non-limited characters, she'd actually be fine. I think she was fine there. But right now, the bar is so high that to be notable as a character, you really have to be exceptional because so many exceptional characters exist. So yeah, I don't want to be too harsh on her. I think she totally works. I think she's totally worthy of being a 5 star. And if you have her and you like her, keep using her. There's no reason not to. She's fine. Uh, I am open to my mind changing on her as I further play her, as I further max her out. And I will max her out because it's a while before the Raiden Shogun banner. And I kind of want to see if she does get better. But right now, just based on the way she's tracking, based on how her numbers scale, based on just looking at what the numbers will be when she is max, I'm not really seeing it. I think she'll be an option, but she's not going to be the best option. And right now, if you only have a few characters and she's one of them, then that's not a big deal to you. But if you've been playing a while and you have a lot of characters, or you're whale and you have a lot of characters, then the question of who is the best option becomes more and more relevant. And really, right now, I don't think she is the best option for a lot of setups. Honestly, let me present a picture for you. What if her elemental burst just applied a dot to everybody that ticked explosive damage, in addition to doing initial burst damage? Didn't require any setup, didn't have any component of she applies debuff, then needs to leave, and then someone else has to hit the character to trigger it, and they have to trigger it repeatedly. What if she just hit Q, thing goes out, applies damage a whole bunch of times? That's what Venti's ult does, in addition to gathering everybody. That's what Ayaka's ult does. That's what a lot of other characters' ults do. Why does hers require all this setup? Right? Like, do you see the point? Or, like, why does her ult just do, like, an AoE nuke and just get it all over with? Why is it gotta be something that you need to keep enemies clustered for such a long period of time? Right? Like, it's just not as easily usable as the other characters. And here's a thing that would make it make sense. Okay, what if her elemental burst did a shit ton of damage? Like, double what it does now. Then, okay, then I kind of get it. Like, yeah, it's a lot harder to use her elemental burst. It's got a lot more restrictions than anyone else's elemental burst, but it's doing more damage, so it's worth it. Right now, it's doing roughly similar damage, maybe a little bit more for way more setup. And, like, that being the case, it's a harder sell. Like, it should just be easier to use or should do more damage. So yeah, that's my first take on Yoimiya. Again, open to my impressions changing, but that's my first impressions. If you've liked this video, like, comment, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff. I will do a follow-up when I max her out. But yeah, that's it for now. I'll catch you guys later. Bye!